Hello.
Hello. Hello.
That's all the singing we're gonna do.
We're gonna.
We
have
had
to
songs, but you can't hear them.
Yeah, no, they're bad. So, and there's this copyright thing that happens nowadays. We were talking about having entrance music the next time. What's that would be called? Entrance music, an entrance music song. And I forgot to. You reminded me that I have to turn on my phone because I'm seeing people. So anyway, after that long and awkward exchange.
Welcome back. We know you missed us last week.
I missed you guys.
We missed you. We really did.
Yes.
Yeah. So, this week, Jenny, what are we going to talk about?
We're talking about pricing your home for maximum sales price.
That's right.
Cheers.
Cheers. Mo money.
Yep.
That's what we're talking about
That's
today.
what we're talking about.
How to get you mo money.
And in a seller's market,
It's possible.
it's possible.
Absolutely.
But
Maximize
only
it.
if you do it right.
If you listen to us.
Yes, listen to us. So, our first topic, you notice we have some props this week.
I know.
We're really trying to step up our Facebook Live game, So, we have some props, so now you can view along with what we're talking about as we talk.
Yes.
While you're watching it work at your desk.
Yes. So, we're trying to figure out closed captioning so you can watch without listening.
Even turning us
But
on.
we can't figure that out.
Andrew apparently is watching us while on vacation in Punta Cana.
Oh. Hi.
Let's Snapchat later. Okay? You can also find us on Snapchat. Well, me, anyway. They're not.
No.
But I am.
I'm just not down with the snap.
'Cause I'm down
So.
with being all hip like that.
All right,
Yeah.
so all right,
Okay, back-
so back. I gotta rein us in. So, all right, so the first thing when you're pricing your home, it's on the screen. You've got to use comparable sales.
Yes.
So, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. When you are, what does that mean exactly? I don't know, do people understand? Do buyers, sellers? I mean, what does that
Do you?
phrase mean? Do you?
Yes.
What do you think?
Oh.
Okay, then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alrighty then.
So comps.
Yes.
You'll often hear us. The lingo comps.
Comps.
Instead of comparable sales, because that's a mouthful.
And what that means is the comparable properties to your home.
Yes.
So.
And ones that in particular have recently sold. So
Yes.
Yes. That's a factor. We need to
Yes.
go back a certain amount of time for them to count. I mean, we can't use in the last year. We can't use in the last. we had one shut down, so just
Wayne's
excuse Wayne
experiencing
not being
technical
here.
difficulties.
It's the beauty of live. So anyway, bear with us. But so comparable sale would be
Homes that are like yours, near yours, and of the same or similar quality.
Yeah.
So if you have a 5-level split in a neighborhood full of ranches, the exact sale price isn't going to be the same.
It'll be a little different. And that does factor in oftentimes. I mean, there are just neighborhoods where you may have a very unique house, or maybe you have the house with the most square footage. What do you do in that case? I mean, that's, there's a balancing act that has to happen.
Right, it's not going to be a strict price per square foot comparison.
Right.
I mean, especially if you have the largest or the smallest house in a neighborhood.
Or the only 5-level split.
Right.
Or the only ranch.
Right. All of those things are things that are going to have to be taken into consideration.
Yes.
So, what things like Zillow do are just simply look at square footage and a general radius without taking into account neighborhoods or house styles or things like that. And
Yeah.
that's why we always say, ignore this estimate.
I think they just pick a number out of a hat, to be quite honest. I don't know how much.
What do they do?
I don't know what they do. But I do know that there is, what do they say, a 30% inaccuracy rate with this estimate.
30%?
Well, and even the CEO of Zillow had an incorrect estimate on his house when he sold it. So that tells you anything. They're the first ones to admit that's wrong. But
So, sorry about that. Apple decided they wanted to update my software. Thank you, Apple. Yeah. So.
you know what I have to say about that.
Yeah.
Not an Apple fan.
Jenny's a Samsung.
I'm hardcore
girl, so-
Samsung.
Yes.
So, other things about the comps though,
Yes,
is you
please.
have to be careful how far you go out.
Mhm.
Right.
In particular, when an appraiser does your appraisal, they're only going to go so far. And your neighborhood may very well connect to a neighborhood by another name. And the appraiser is not going to go outside of the neighborhood that you're named after unless there are some extenuating circumstances, like not enough sales. If you live in a small neighborhood where there's maybe 20 houses and there were no sales in the last couple of years, then they'll go outside of there. But generally speaking, they're going to stick to your neighborhood. Pricing in real estate's hyper-local. I mean, it's, you see on the TV all the time, they'll say, prices in Florida are up 25%. That means nothing for you. What your prices are up is according to your community, your city, and local. So when you're looking at, if you're trying to figure this out on your own, and it's best to talk to an agent, if you're trying to figure out what your home is worth or what it could sell for, then it's a really good idea to talk to your agent. But you can go on public sources like the auditor's website or even on Zillow or Trulia or Realtor.com, you can see sold homes as well. So it is possible. But you have to, we'll get into some other things that determines whether or not it's a comp. So So beyond that, so now you have your comps. One of the first tips I would offer is, don't shoot for the stars. Everybody wants more money. We all would love to get $1 million, for our home. But is it? I did it. TJ was on top. So
I love how we don't get distracted by anything. Yes. We are on point the entire time.
Lasers.
Yeah, I mean, wow.
Yeah. Anyways, but don't shoot for the stars, right? I mean, you've got to be realistic on what you're going to try to get for your home.
So in a seller's market like what we're having, I mean, do you think that still applies? Shoot for the stars. I mean, how
So my opinion.
What would your opinion be if you were listing my home?
Let's use an example.
Yes.
Let's say a house was $200,000. A house across the street from you sold for $200,000 6 months ago. So it's safe to go a little over 200 because prices, depending upon again your neighborhood or community, prices are gone up 5 to 10% a year the last couple of years. So 6 months later, if you want to factor in a little bit of appreciation over your recent comps, then I think it's safe to do that. But going 10, 20% over for your list price, that we'll get into that why that's a bad idea too. But
understand this though too. I mean, you can shoot a little bit over the mark, but your house has to kind of support that. Right. I mean, you cannot have a home that say was built in the 70s that has never been updated. You still have the shag carpet, you still have the wallpaper on the walls. You've never updated, but the home across the street that sold for $200,000 has the granite, the stainless, the hardwood floors, everything that is a good finish. That factors in. That's the condition that we always talk about. I mean, it's not all the condition, but that is a huge factor in trying to get more for your dollar.
Yeah, and that leads into one of our other topics. But be honest with yourself about the condition and the value of your home. Don't convince yourself because you have this much owed in your mortgage and you want to pay, your kid's first year in college using from your proceeds. The market doesn't care. The market is going to determine ultimately how much your house is worth. So that's how we get an idea of what it might get on the open market. Is that we're looking at these other comps. You price too high, you shoot for the stars, and you say you list your $200,000 house for $250,000 that maybe should have been $250,000. So now you've gone over 20% higher than your suggested list price. And then what happens? Buyers don't show up because they saw the house that sold for $200,000 or another house that's in the neighborhood that's priced close to the $200,000 and think, well, that house is way overpriced. We're not even going to go look because they've already ruled it out.
Right.
So you want to price your home for maximum exposure, and that's why I say don't shoot for the stars.
Right.
Is because if you shoot for the stars and you overshoot it, you're shrinking your buyer pool because as you go up in price, you lose a number of potential buyers. So because median, I think, sales price in Central Ohio, and if someone's on the board of realtors right now, don't shoot me, but I think it's like
Chime in.
chime in. Yeah, but I think it's around 180. So when you start to go over 180, you now have 50% fewer people
Yes.
who can buy your home. So you start getting into 2, 3. There's a smaller buyer pool, and going from 200 to 250 is a pretty big jump.
Yeah.
Most people are going to set. If you're searching for a $200,000 home, you may set it for up to 210, but you're not going to set it for up to 250. So you've already shut people out who may have seen your listing, who now are not going to see
Right.
it because of the way you priced it. So accurate pricing is key. So
Absolutely.
But on the flip side of the coin, don't try to get 100 people through your home by pricing it at the bottom of the barrel or bargain basement pricing. This isn't a fire sale.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that goes to our next point. Good segue, TJ. Bring it in. So bargain basement pricing.
Yes.
You see this all the time if you watch HGTV.
Yes,
Well, we're going to
yes.
price it low because we want multiple offers, and in the right scenario, it might work.
That can happen. It's a theory. It's a theory that a lot of agents.
But it has to be the right scenario. There are so many things I think that have to be in place for you to be able to do that. That it's
Successful,
it's
yes.
really
Yeah.
few and far between.
Yeah.
Like the stars really have to align.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, you may, if you do get lucky enough to have the multiple offer situation happening and everybody's going above what your list price is, you may end up capped at what would have been a fair price anyway. So it's not like, I mean, why
Yeah.
not just start there?
Yeah, and the thing is, so as much as we can, as much as we may know everything in the world there is to know about a neighborhood. We may have sold 10 homes in the neighborhood or more in the last year. And go to list a home, and you'll find every scenario is different. I may have listed a home down the street, and we just happened to have the best luck, and we hit the timing just right, and we had 40 showings over the
Right.
course of a weekend. You can list another house in the same neighborhood 2 weeks later,
Right.
and for whatever the reason is, have a fraction of the showing. So you cannot make any promises. No matter what anyone tells you, no one can promise you how many people are going to come to your house, what your house is going to sell for.
Right.
We can give you all the stats. We can talk to you about, our professional opinion about the price. Excuse me, but we cannot guess exactly on the market. So if you do your bargain basement pricing, and you happen to be the one, if you don't have kids, and for instance, you list it this week. Well, guess what? Everybody's on spring break.
Right.
So now you list it at a bargain basement price, and where you may have had 30 showings because you were in a better time.
Everyone's on vacation.
This week you're only and then you're going to get an offer. So are you going to adjust and wait
Right.
because everybody will be back next week and hope? So my theory on all of this, and to get to my point, is if you price it right, we are in a heavy seller's market. There's a fraction of homes for sale that is normally for sale. So, the last time I looked, and I haven't looked in a couple weeks, but it was like less than 4,000 houses for sale around MLS.
It's been under 4,000 for a while. now.
Ridiculously low.
Crazy.
So there's a lot more buyers than there are sellers. So it is definitely a seller's market. But by pricing it right, you still stand a chance that you're going to get multiple offers and drive the price up. What you're doing is you're eliminating the chance that if you priced it 20,000 below where it should be, in the hopes you're going to get multiple offers, you may get that one offer and it may be at your asking price, and that may be all you get, and then you cut yourself out of possibly 20 grand. So price it right is my end
Yes.
to my lecture
Yes.
here. So
But I think along the lines of bargain basement pricing, people will know. And buyers, especially in talking with their agents, may very well know that you're pricing it low in order to get into a bidding war. And there are buyers who will walk away from a high stakes bidding war.
Yeah.
And so you may actually be losing out on someone who would give you a good, fair price for your house
That's
because you're creating a
That's
tense
great.
situation for that buyer.
Yeah, I can't even tell you how many clients I've had that have been looking for the last 3 years. And quite frankly, every year has been a seller's market. It's gotten worse and worse. We have no crystal ball to predict what's going to happen in the next few weeks. We hope that it will become more balanced. But what if it doesn't? What if it's, even more competitive than it was last year? People walk away from that. They don't want to deal with it. They're hurt. They've been through it, been there, done that. And, as agents, we're trying to figure out different ways to make people come back. Hey, I will only do showings on this day, and offers are due by this day. No pressure that first day if it goes on the market. There's we can only do so much. But
buyers,
that's
after you lose a couple times, this is a very emotional process.
Yes.
And that's our slogan here. It's more than just a house; it's a home. So and people get attached to their homes and this whole process. So after a couple times of losing out, people start to become gun shy, I guess, if you will. And that's an excellent point, TJ. And I'm glad you brought that up because the multiple offer thing can backfire. I've had instances where we've had 2 offers, and then we've had other people that call and say 2 or more, and other people call and say, well, do you have any offers? Yes. Okay, we're going to send you one. And then you talk to them later, well, they decided not to, they just don't want to get caught up in that. Well, unfortunately for buyers these days, you're probably going to get caught up in it eventually if you're going to buy right now. So,
But we're kind of halfway through. I think it's a good time to remind people to ask us questions, make comments, because that's how you get entered into our drawing this month, which is a dozen of custom-made cookies from Plenty of Cookies.
They're really cute.
Super cool cookies.
They're beautiful. You're not even going to want to eat them.
I think
But you will.
But you will, because they're very tasty.
They're delicious.
Yeah.
So yes, please ask questions, because ultimately that's how you'll get the most money. So, and then if you don't get it during this, send us a message,
after.
or the videos go live after. And if you watch later and you can still leave questions. We get notifications.
Absolutely.
We'll still answer.
They still count.
Yes.
Yes, they do.
So we're going to get back to being honest with yourself, because I think a lot of sellers, in particular, think very highly of their house, right? They've lived there, they've put their love, their money, their time, their kids have grown up there, or they've had special memories, so they're very partial to their house.
Right.
And what does that lead to? What happens? So it just...
overinflated idea of what their home is worth, quite frankly.
Because to them, it's perfect.
Yes.
And the buyer coming into your house does not care that your child's first steps were over there, and that, this is, where your little puppy sleeps every night, and they don't care about any of those things.
Yeah.
Just like you don't care when you go out to look at someone else's houses about what their kids did in the house, or all the family holidays that were had there.
Right.
I always tell people, look at your house like you're a judgmental in-law.
Yeah. And it's not even just the memories. It's, you may have made an upgrade that buyers are really
turned off by.
Yeah, they just don't like it. So
a bright color wall, for instance, focal point.
And your realtor, when you list, is hopefully going to tell you the things that you really should maybe consider changing before you list, because you only get the one chance to make the first impression.
Right.
But those upgrades, your memories, why that house is important to you. As your agent, we're going to try to talk to you to help maximize the things that are going to appeal to the most buyers. So that's our goal. But you have to be honest with yourself, and that that Art Deco chandelier in your house built 30 years ago, it might need replacing. So
and
the buyers
please
aren't
don't be
gonna appreciate
offended by that either. I mean,
There's nothing
there's
personal
nothing.
about it.
It is not a personal thing. Trying to get your house ready to sell. I mean, you need to do. As Wayne said, I mean, you get one chance to make that first impression. It's the first day you list. It's with those pictures, so you want it in top-notch form so that you can get the most bang for your buck.
And if you watched last week, or if you've ever visited a model home with a home builder, they spend a ton of money decorating those homes and the fine details in it.
Everything,
to make it so you can envision how nice that house can be. And there's no difference when it comes to your house, no matter how long you've lived in it, that we need to maximize its selling points. But you have to, again, be really brutally honest with yourself. And if you love that chandelier, we'll take it down and you can take it with you and
Yeah.
put it up in your next
Absolutely.
place. And you put up, a Home Depot chandelier that's going to appeal to the masses.
Mm-hmm.
But it's nothing personal. It's got nothing to do with your personal taste.
Right.
So, we just want to get the most money. That is our goal, is to get the most money.
I mean, how many times have we said, even just in these broadcasts, this is a business transaction?
Right.
As emotional as it is.
It's very emotional, but you're doing business here.
Right.
And the buyer's going to be doing business, and you're doing business as the seller, so remember that.
Yes. And so, on to our next subject here is that you also have to consider what's for sale. So, as along the lines of being honest with yourself, and Jenny talked about, the house with the granite counters, and you still have Formica and 80s oak, they're not apples to apples. So you really have to consider and be honest with yourself about what's in a home and what's in the other homes that have sold. But you need to consider what's for sale, because if you live in a neighborhood of, say, 100, 200 houses, and there's, 30 of them for sale, then you have a lot of competition. If you're living in a neighborhood of that many, 200 houses or whatever, and there's 2 for sale, competition is what's going to drive how we price your house.
Right.
So right now the inventory is low, and that's why I said earlier, I think you can shoot a little higher than previous comps.
Absolutely.
But shooting too far, again, is maybe not your best strategy. But, what do you guys think about that?
No, I agree 100%. I mean, and that gives, that's the whole pricing topic. You need to look at what's currently for sale, what the prices are, and how do you compare. That's all. It goes back to point number 1. What are the comparables? What are we looking at? What are finishes? And that's not to say you need to do a whole house overhaul
Right.
to get maximum dollar. I mean, you just be realistic. That's all we're saying. You need to be realistic in your idea of, yes, there are homes selling higher than they ever have before. We've seen great increases every year, which is fantastic for sellers. But, how do you match up to those?
Right.
Take a hard look at what your home is, and then also take a look at those pictures of the listings that are out there now and
Right.
have sold.
And don't just look at the exterior. Go through
No,
all the
you gotta go
pictures.
inside.
Yeah. And it's not a bad idea for sometimes not all the times, but for your agent to take you through your competition. And I've done
sure,
that.
yeah.
Especially when a seller says to me, like going back to the $200,000 home example, a seller says, I really want $250, and I really think your home is worth $200. Okay, let's find a house in the neighborhood or nearby that's $250,
Right.
and let's go walk through it.
Right.
And I had this exact instance with a seller, and we walked in the front door of a house in a similar example, and he looked at me and he said, "You don't have to say another word."
Really?
Because
That was a great idea. Yeah.
because he saw what his house looked like, and when we opened the front door, it was immediately
Yeah.
evident. The house that we were in had way more updates than the house that I was trying to sell. Of course, we tried to maximize that, and we got
Sure.
the most out we could.
Sure.
But it wasn't apples to apples again.
You have to take things into consideration too, like, do you need new windows? What about the HVAC system? I mean, there are going to be updates. The roof. I mean, where are you with that? An updated home with all of those things updated is going to be what is commanding top dollar nowadays. If you have some stuff that needs to be done, you need to really consider that when we're talking about pricing. Yes, there are things we can do now because it is a seller's market, but I can't factor in $15,000 that you might need for those new windows, or the $10,000 for the HVAC system that you've got to. There's a balance.
Yes. But I think the balance is always then pricing accordingly.
Right.
Because if you go ahead and put in that $10,000 or $15,000, you're not going to see 100% return on your money.
Exactly.
So rather than being further behind, why not just start and price your home accordingly, so that you've already compensated for that, and you'll make more money pricing it accordingly than what you will dropping $10,000 or $15,000 into. Most
I
likely.
think there are instances where that is 1,000% true regarding 90% of the things in a house.
Right.
Now, when it comes to dirty carpets that can't be cleaned
Yes.
or that have odors. And we've talked about this
Yes,
before.
yeah.
Odors, dirty paint, those kinds of things. There are instances where it's just not feasible for the seller
Right.
to remedy it.
Right.
But you don't want someone to walk in the front door and the first thing they see, are handprints all over, the entry wall, or, the first thing they smell is, the litter box from, the cat or something like that. Because I can't tell you how many times I've been with the buyer and we walk in the front door,
Yes.
they see it, they smell it, and we're right back
Turn
out
around
the
and
front
out.
door. We don't even go past the front door because they can't get past
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So there's no adjusting for those kinds of things in most scenarios. So now there are instances where, if it's an investor and you're willing to take a lower price because of
Yeah.
it, you may find someone that will give you your lower price, but you're only going to hurt how much money you get. So
But if
in
the-
those instances.
But if there are those easy fixes, we'll walk through those with
Right.
you.
Yeah, oh,
Because
yeah.
we've seen our share of
Right.
houses on both sides of the spectrum.
And to TJ's point, don't go ripping out cabinets and remodeling master bathrooms because you saw on HGTV that they did this for $1,000 and they sold for 30. Those shows just are not always
HGTV
realistic.
is
So
not in.
it's TV.
It's
and it's
well, and
just
it's usually
TV.
Canadian too.
Yeah.
I mean, those shows are not here, and it's not the current market, and it's TV. I mean,
Yeah.
TV is what they're
And who's paying for the labor? I mean, there's no way they did $2,000 worth of work.
right. For
They may have
nothing.
got 2,000 of materials, but they've got those guys that are doing the work for. They're getting some sort of arrangement. There's no way.
And
So
and if you're making these types of changes in order to prepare your house for sale, let me tell you one thing. I'm sure you're very handy. But go ahead and hire a professional, because showing the bill of sale from the professional is going to be better than just saying, well, I went to Home Depot and I replumbed the house this weekend.
Oh yeah, especially. I think there are a handful of things that you never should touch unless you know what you're doing, or are licensed. Plumbing, electrical, HVAC, roofing. Absolutely. I mean, for safety issues alone,
Right.
you could really hurt yourself in any one of those
Yes,
things.
absolutely.
And
So
to
don't-
that, do not refinish a wood floor on your own unless you know what you're doing.
I made that mistake.
I did wood floors all through high school and college, and my dad always watches these later. So yes, Dad, I'm telling
But-
everyone what you
yeah.
always wanted me to, and don't do it yourself.
When I
He
did
listen. He listen.
When I did it, you could roll a marble and watch it.
A little too much standing here.
Yeah,
That's
so good suggestion. So our last item of topic is, depending upon how you price, if you price too low and say your showings have gone, and I've never really seen an instance where you raise the price. I mean, I think maybe it could happen. But in most cases, what's happening is you're not getting offers or you're not getting showings. And then waiting, not facing the reality of why you're not getting showings or getting offers, waiting to face that reality is only hurting yourself. Don't put it off, because you're going to get your most exposure in the first
Right.
2 weeks to 30 days as you're ever going to get when you list your home for sale. So just adjust quickly is my
And we know that timing. I mean, we're professionals. We know that timing for this market in your neighborhood, not just your city, but your neighborhood. And if we're saying, okay, you really need to adjust now, today, don't sleep on it over the weekend. Especially if it's getting close to the weekend.
Right.
If I come to you on a Thursday and say we need to adjust, you need to do it now, because everyone's getting ready to come look at the houses over
Right.
the weekend. Because that's the other thing that we're taking into consideration, right?
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And days on market is huge. And don't think that you're going to have your house on the market for 60 days, take it off the market for 5 and put it back on, and everyone's not going to know. Because the MLS tracks cumulative days on market.
Well, yeah, it tracks that, and then when we add something to the MLS, it's going to send out an alert that something happened.
Right.
And those alerts are triggered by price changes, new listings, if the home changes status, those kinds of things. So if you think taking it off the market for a few days and then you're going to get the same splash again, it doesn't exactly work like that. You're going to miss the boat. Now, there are instances, and some people have those settings enabled, but a lot of times you're going to miss. And then when they see it, though, if you do that, they're going to, oh, I already saw this.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter if you made changes, you know, to the inside or whatever. They're going to think they already saw it. They're not going to look again. So
Exactly.
So, well, that's what we've got. Anything else we should hit upon?
I mean, I think that at the end of the day, we have done this more times than what anyone else will have in their lifetime as an average buyer or seller.
Sure.
You know, that's what we're here for. We're here to work with you. We're here to work for you. We have our advice. Please take that advice, but ultimately it's your decision.
Yeah, we're not going to make the decisions for you. We're going to arm you with every bit of
can't.
information. Yeah. We're going to arm you with every bit of information that we can, you know, and do our best
Right.
job for you. But at the end of the day, you know, it's your decision, you know, what you end up doing. You know, we may find, you know, if you're farther apart and, you know, we really think, you know, this costs us money. You know, when we're advertising homes for sale and we're doing this, it costs money and time,
Right.
you know, and we may not be the best fit. And there are instances, you know, where we will have that discussion. And you may have it with us and say, well, you know, if that's not what you're willing to price it, then, you know, then
Yeah.
we're not going to
Yeah.
work. So, but at the end of the day, we're not going to pressure you to do anything you don't want to do.
Right. Right.
And the goal is always your best interest, and the best interest usually for sellers is to sell as quickly as possible and for the most amount of money, and that's my typical goals.
And if you can't get to the price that you need, because you really need to clear a certain amount in order to buy your next house or to simply pay off the mortgages on your house, if you can't get to that price, then let's wait.
Well, it's either wait or talk about other options.
Yeah,
Because, you
right.
know, if it's because you have mortgage payoffs and you can't meet the mortgage payoffs in your price, but you need or want to get out of it, there are options available potentially. So, you know, the end point, and I think we've said this just about every time we've done this, is it's communication. It's having an open and honest conversation
Right.
with the people who are working with you.
Right.
You know, we have a duty of confidentiality with you. So you may be our best friend, or you may be someone we just met for the first time and we're working with you. And if you're our best friend and you're worried about us telling our other friends, you know,
Yeah.
our duty to you is
Yeah.
to never share your personal information. So anybody who does that has broken our ethics rules and laws. So anyways, that's a whole nother topic, but
I think that's a great future Wine Wednesday
Yeah.
talk.
Who wants to learn about ethics?
yeah.
Well, because we do have obligations.
Sleep.
We do have obligations to our clients that I think that they don't know about.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, quite frankly,
Yes.
confidentiality being
Absolutely.
numero uno.
So next week we will be back again,
Yes.
and then same time, maybe
Same
different
time, same
location. We don't
Yes.
know yet, but
Same time.
yeah. So 3:00 next Wednesday. Every Wednesday as always. I'll say sign off and goodbye.
Should we mention the extra thing that we're thinking about doing too? As in,
Oh yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Well, go ahead and mention it since you brought it up.
sure, pressure. So one of the things that we're talking about doing, because we've had such great feedback with this, is that we're also going to have a little extra podcast available after. So that's going to be a little bit extra tips and tricks and information that maybe we're not covering here, but you can then get the podcast, listen to the podcast, and pick up on that as well.
And we'll each share on our own timelines and pages
Right.
how you can access. But
Yes.
we will have podcasts available. Subscribe. Come see
Yeah.
us again.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you next week.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Woohoo! All right, I'll go shut off.